Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel, Cooking for the Family. I'm Dyvonne, and today I'm going to share with you how to make some delicious soft flour tortillas. This is also my 1,000 subscribers celebration vlog, and I cannot wait to share this recipe with you and how I learned to make them. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to start off with some flour. And we're going to be using all-purpose unbleached flour, and we're going to be using 3 cups. When it comes to making tortillas, it is definitely a skill that I had to develop over time. And when I say develop over time, it did take me a while. My husband and I have been married for 27 years. His favorite thing growing up was homemade flour tortillas that his sisters made every weekend morning. And he enjoyed them so much. And so I really wanted to make great flour tortillas for him. So in our bowl, we have our 3 cups of our flour. And to that, we added 1 teaspoon of salt. And we're also going to add another 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Now to this, we're going to be adding some baking powder. And our baking powder, we're going to be putting in 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Now in the description box below, I will have a list of all the ingredients you need to make my delicious soft flour tortillas. Now once you have your ingredients in your bowl, I take either a fork or you can use a whisk as well. And we just want to whisk all the ingredients or go all back and forth with our fork, okay? Because you want to make sure everything is nice and distributed together. Then we're going to add in some shortening. Now traditionally, of course, a lot of times you would use manteca, okay? But we're going to be using shortening. And also my sister-in-laws, they started using shortening as well, and not so much manteca anymore. And what manteca is lard. And so we're going to use 8 tablespoons of our vegetable shortening. So we're going to have 8 tablespoons of the vegetable shortening. Now once we put our vegetable shortening in, take your fingers and we're going to make kind of like a cornmeal consistency with the flour and with the shortening. You want to go on and break that down and put it all throughout your flour. You want nice small pieces distributed because we're going to be using some nice hot water, and I have like hot water that I had boiled on the stove. I added it to my measuring cup. We're going to be putting in 1 cup of hot water, and then if we need to, depending on the consistency, because what I found over the years from many phone calls to all my sister-in-laws is that when it comes to flour tortillas, making them, it's about consistency, the consistency of the dough and the feel of it. And that is something I'm going to share with you as to what you want to look for in order to have great flour tortillas. So I put in half of the nice hot water, and because the water is very hot, it was boiling, you want to use your spatula because the water is very, very hot. So you want to either use your spoon or either a spatula. And so next I put in the other half of my water. So I put in a 1/2 cup, and then I put in the second 1/2 cup to make 1 full cup. And then I'm just going to mix everything around. Now, when you're mixing, you want to make sure that you're going from the sides and the bottom over, because we're going to take that flour from the bottom and we're going to incorporate that to the wet dough that's on top. Now, while you're doing this, if you're finding that the dry flour, as you're mixing it with the dough, if it's not starting to fully incorporate and starting to pull away from your bowl at this point, you need to add some more water, some more of the boiling water. And then we added about 3 more tablespoons of the boiling water, and then you just keep mixing around. And then what should happen is that the dry flour, as you're mixing and pressing, is going to start to incorporate with that wet dough, and also your ball is going to start to form inside your bowl, and also your dough will start to pull away from the sides of your bowl, just like what's happening right here. The reason why we want to use very hot water with our dough is because that hot water is going to start to melt that shortening into the flour, and it's going to start to melt, and it's going to integrate with the flour and with our baking powder and with the salt. And that's going to be the first step and creating those nice soft flour tortillas that we want. Now next what we're going to do is we're going to knead our dough, and we're going to be kneading our dough for about 5 to 7 minutes. Our dough is nice and warm to the touch, and it should feel nice and smooth and pliable. Your dough should not feel dry at all. It should not be tearing apart where you're seeing it like strings as if like you're pulling it apart. You should not see that at all. It should be a nice cohesive ball, and it should feel just really nice, really smooth in your hands. And when you're kneading your tortilla dough, you're going to do the process of pushing it away from you, flipping it over, pushing it away from you, flipping it over just like that, bringing it onto itself, and then pushing it away with your palms. And so we're working with our palms back and forth. You see how I'm doing that? We're just rolling our dough, and then we're going to go to the end of the dough and we're going to flip that onto itself. Then we're going to roll again with our palms, go to the end of the dough and flip it just like that. And you see how nice and pillowy soft and just how pliable our dough is. That is what we're looking for. This is what you want. It's that nice smooth feel of that dough in your hand. It should not be feeling dry at all. It should feel nice and just soft. And that's when you know, okay, we have really worked the dough. We've been kneading our dough for about 5-7 minutes. We shape it into a nice ball, and what we're going to do now is that we're going to make smaller balls, and we're going to let our dough balls rest for a minute before we roll them out. So now we can go in and make our smaller dough balls, and our dough balls are going to be about the size of a large egg, a little bit bigger than that actually, and we're just going to go on and just break off a little piece, roll it around in our hand, because these dough balls are going to make about 12 to 14. Sometimes I've gotten 12, sometimes I've gotten 14. And these are going to be the balls that we roll out to form our flour tortillas. If you are new to my channel, welcome. And if you're a returner, welcome back. And this is my 1,000 subscriber celebration vlog. I am so excited that we reached 1,000 subscribers on my channel a few weeks ago, and we just keep climbing. I am truly grateful, and I appreciate all the wonderful people who have found my channel, who have decided to subscribe, who have given me a like, who have shared one of my videos. I thank you all so much, and I look forward to sharing more great recipes and cooking tips and techniques from my kitchen. So once we have our balls, we start to form them in our bowl. I took my nice damp towel, and it's warm water, so I got a nice fresh towel. You want to put nice warm water, and then I covered the bowl, and that's what you want to do because we want to keep our tortilla balls from drying out. So you're going to cover it for about 15 minutes and let our tortilla balls just rest. Now our tortilla balls has rested for that 15 minutes, and we're going to start to roll them out. Now while I'm doing this, I do have my comal, and it is on nice medium heat because we want to bring our cooking surface up to a good temperature while we're rolling out our balls. Now we're going to roll out 3. I like to roll out 3 and have them kind of on standby as I'm rotating from rolling out my tortilla balls to also cooking them as well. Now when you're rolling out your flour tortillas, you're going to add a little bit of flour just like I did, but you want to be mindful not to add too much flour. The reason being is if you add too much flour while you're rolling out your tortilla balls, what will happen is it will dry out your dough, and then your dough will be very dry when you go to cook it on your comal. Okay, so be mindful not to add too much flour. I have done that before in the past, and it will end up making a very dry, brittle. It won't be very pliable and soft like you need it to be. So making the dough is very important. In the process of making the dough, rolling your dough out, letting your dough also rise prior to rolling it out, all those different things, or bring those together, you're going to end up having some nice soft flour tortillas. Now once we have our dough rolled out, and you go from the center, you want to work from the center out when you're rolling out your tortillas. And don't worry, if your tortillas aren't perfectly round, they are going to be delicious and your family is going to appreciate them. Now our comal is nice and hot, and this is what I'm using here, and it's basically a cast iron skillet that I'm using. It has low sides, and it's referred to as a comal, and so this is what we're going to be using. If you have a regular cast iron skillet, you can use that instead. I have my fire on a nice medium heat, and you may need to adjust your heat from either medium to up to a medium high, because when you put your flour tortilla dough on, you want to see those steam pockets that we have there. You want your surface to be nice and hot, because it only cooks about anywhere from 30 seconds up to a minute per side. So it's not that long to cook your flour tortillas. And then what you do is, once you have some nice steam pockets, and then I flip, and then I check underneath to see if there's a little bit of browning, and then it's time to take them off. You want to be mindful not to overcook your tortillas. I've done that before in the past, where I've left them on too long. They've overcooked, they've dried out, and then they also become brittle. And so that's something that also will keep you from having those nice soft tortillas. And so again, we put our flour tortillas down. We get those nice good steam pockets that we have going on there. And then, but you want to make sure that your tortilla also is not burning. You don't want to be have your fire too high where you're burning it. So in the beginning, you may need to do a little bit of an adjustment with your flame that you have underneath your pan. And so we just let those nice steam pockets build. When it gets to the point, we go on and flip them. And sometimes I'll flip them with my hands, or sometimes I'll use like the spatula that I have now. And something else that's important is when you're making your fresh flour tortillas from scratch, unlike when you are warming tortillas up from the store, how you'll flip them back and forth a few times, with homemade flour tortillas, you only want to flip them once. The reason is when you keep flipping them back and forth, you'll have a tendency to overcook them, as well as they can burn, as well as they can dry out and become brittle. I have done that. I did that before, and I called my sister-in-law, and I was like, oh my gosh, these tortillas, they're crispy, they're crunchy. And she's just like, oh, you was flipping them too much. So I have learned my lesson through the years, and so now I am able to make the flour tortillas. I say the flour tortillas of my husband's dreams, and so they have come out so beautifully, y'all. And this has been through trial and error, and so that's why I can just share these little tips and these little techniques that I have found from speaking with my sister-in-laws over the years, and different things that I was doing at different stages of making the flour tortillas can really make or break your recipe. And so that's one thing that I really want to make sure I share with y'all. Well, I'm going to go on and finish cooking up our flour tortillas. I have some rice there. These tortillas are going to go great with our dinner tonight. I'm making some nice chicken fajitas tonight with all of the wonderful fixings that go with it. And these flour tortillas are just going to be spot on for our meal. Well, our flour tortillas are done. I have them right here in my little flour tortilla keeper that I have. We have them covered to keep them nice and warm. Let's see how we did. Wow, will you look at that? These tortillas are nice and soft. I think that we did my sister-in-laws proud today. Wow, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to put a little butter on our tortillas, because when we make homemade flour tortillas, you got to put a little bit of butter on that first piece, that first tortilla that you try. And of course, you know, y'all, my husband has been in here. He has got his tortilla. He put some butter on it. And he is just so happy right now, y'all. But I'm going to go on and put some nice butter on our tortillas so we can go on and give it a try. And our tortillas are still nice and warm, so that butter just went on and melted up right away. That bite right there is for you. Go ahead and take your bite. I'm going to give it a try. Y'all, these tortillas, oh my goodness. We got butter dripping, y'all, from our tortillas. These are so good. Well, that is it for me today, y'all. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I invite you to hit that subscribe button. If you like this video and appreciate the content, don't forget to show it some love and give it a thumbs up. And click share and share this video with a friend or family. And click that notification bell so you never miss out when I share what I'm cooking for my family. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.